with Ahsoka coming out very soon, I wanted to make a video explaining some characters that I want to see in the show. Now, most of these characters, actually all the characters I'm going to be listing here, are from the Clone Wars series. I think it would be cool to see them from animation in the Clone Wars when they were all younger, to now in the Ahsoka show where they're much older, and none of these characters will be like elderly, I wouldn't think. You know, because a lot of these characters I'm going to talk about are young, like similar age to Ahsoka was. So the first character, or say group of characters I'm going to mention here, are the younglings from the Youngling arc in Season 5 of the Clone Wars. Now, the reason why actually I'm talking about the group of younglings is because of Hu Yang, you know, the droid from the same arc that he was first introduced in, is now being in the Ahsoka show, like as a main side character, the droid character of the series. So it may, you know, the question is, where are these younglings? And we know what happened to Gunji. He was in the Bad Batch. We know what happened to him. He has a happy ending somewhat, but what about everyone else? Are they dead? Because that's what it looks like. It looks like they're dead. I would not think that they were, considering that they're children, and that this is Disney we're talking about, and even back then, before Disney bought Star Wars, you would think that these children would not be killed off, but who knows. But I'd like to see them, maybe a reference, or maybe even seeing them again in some capacity in live action. I think it'd be cool to see all of them again, or maybe one, two, like that, maybe a reference to them, because it is sort of a plot hole, especially with Order 66. You know, were they in the temple? Did Anakin kill them? Like, are they dead? Because that would be kind of dark, but I wouldn't think so. But you never know, because, you know, it's Star Wars we're talking about here. The second character I'm going to be talking about is Lux Bentari. Hopefully I'm saying that last name right, because you may remember him as the loving fist to Ahsoka. Well, I'm putting that in quotation marks, but he was basically the, you know, something that Ahsoka liked. He was in 3 arcs of Clone Wars in Season 3, 4, and 5, I believe. And we never really see him again, and I think he's actually a character I would bet would be in the Ahsoka show. Maybe. Like, there is a 50% chance, because he's a character that in the last time we see him, he's like a rebel. So I wonder if, you know, maybe will be a backstory where he maybe joined Rebellion. Maybe he met Ahsoka during the Empire, and now to Ahsoka he's like a contact she can call. Maybe there's an episode where she calls him up and they go to his secret base or whatever, maybe where planet he's on, and they reunite and, you know, talk about stuff. Because I can see that happening, because he's a character you don't really need to watch the Clone Wars to see, because if they read him properly, just as like an ally to Ahsoka, that would be cool, because I don't think they have bad blood the last time they met. I think they're on good terms. So I think that'll be a really cool thing to see Lux in. The last character that will probably show up will be Barriss Offee. We know who she is. She was in like 2 arcs of the Clone Wars, like one in Season 2, then one in Season 5. I'm not gonna spoil what happens if you want to watch, you know, her episodes, but she's a pretty big deal to, you know, Ahsoka's story. And having Barriss show up in Ahsoka, because there is this Inquisitor that I've seen in the trailers. You know, people are speculating that it's Barriss, and essentially because Barriss is so tied to Ahsoka and why she left the Jedi Order, you know, for all that stuff, it would make sense for her to show up in Ahsoka, and I am betting like 80% that she's going to show up. She has to. There has to be some mention of her. There has to be some appearance. I bet there's going to be an appearance. There has to be, because, you know, in Rebels, there was an Inquisitor that looked like Barriss Offee as an adult, which it wasn't her, which is kind of a missed opportunity, because, you know, having the two fight on opposite sides would be really impactful, because they fought together during the Clone Wars. Now they're not. And that could still happen. That same story beat could occur in the Ahsoka show, but, you know, for what reason is unclear. If the rumors I've been hearing are true, this show is going to be crazy, and it's going to have a lot of references to, like, the Clone Wars and Rebels. Well, obviously Rebels, but a lot of references to Clone Wars. So, like I said, all these characters are in the Clone Wars, so having these characters have some sort of cameo appearance is very likely. And for Barriss to show up in the present day is also very likely, because I can see her being like a bounty hunter. That's the only way I can see it. So she has to be a bounty hunter or working for the bad guys of the show. Like, that's the only two options I have. Or another option could be in some third-party faction that wants Ahsoka because of something that happened in the past. That's like the only like three options I have to possibly put Barriss Offee in the story. But I do want to see her because she, like I said, an important character. She's very important, and basically best friends to Ahsoka when they were younger. So, you know, that's an important thing for Ahsoka to face this character that did a lot to her career as a Jedi, and you know, her life essentially after that changed because of Barriss Offee. And so having an interaction could be a very powerful scene. A bonus character I'm not really gonna mention here is the prince, who is the prince of Mon Calamari. You know, there's like an underwater arc in the beginning of season 4. The prince, I forget his name, but he's like the Prince Mal Calamari, same species of Admiral Akbar. You know, this character, I'm not gonna say his character's gonna show up because the prince character was in a lot of comic books, and I think his story is concluded. I'm not gonna spoil what happens, but it'd be very difficult for this character to show up in the Ahsoka series because, you know, Ahsoka was friends with this prince character. You know, they did have a friendship that built over the couple episodes, you know, the arc. And so having the character show up would make sense, but, you know, if I would make a Ahsoka show, I would have all these characters show up. But I'm not Dave Filoni, but, you know, I think Dave Filoni, in terms of that character, if he does want to bring that character, there has to be some retconning. Because it isn't just like in one comic book he show up in. No, it's like multiple, like an entire comic book line that is, you know, the prince of the water world, I'm calling it, Mon Calamari, the Admiral Akbar species, this prince character, you know, he did this entire storyline, you know, in a comic book. And so it'd be very difficult to get him, one, off-world, and two, to meet Ahsoka, because he would be old enough, because he was a teenager during the Clone Wars arc. But I'm putting 0% for, you know, the character, the prince character. I forget his name. You know, so I'm bad with, you know, minor characters' names, because he only shows up once in the Clone Wars, but he does make an impact. Enough of an impact for me to actually, you know, mention it. But I'm going to end it here. Do you disagree or agree with what I have to say with all these characters? Do you think that any of them are going to show up in the Ahsoka show? I'm going to go now. If you guys enjoyed, hit the like button, subscribe. I'm going now, so goodbye, everyone.